What's happening, folks? So, I recently built a product, and this was completely vibe coded end to end from idea generation to the initial UI to actually building and launching the product. The product is going to be available soon, and my goal was to test how all of these different AI tools work together. So, I started with bolt.new for the idea generation as well as the initial UI, so the MVP and the initial few screens were built in Bolt. From there, I took the project over to Windsurf to write different parts of the application. I wanted this product to be like a cursor for presentations where you can give your prompt or idea and it generates the presentation for you. These tools did a great job. Now, there were some detailed tasks like adding documentation, adding a few different features, testing out different parts of the application. And when I tried Cursor and Windsurf, they did fine. It just felt like it was going nowhere. So that's where I want to try Devin. Devin is an AI coding tool which actually works more like a software engineer. It can understand your repo, it can write code for you, it can help you explain different parts of the application. And that's where I want to see if it is something that I can use with my team and with the projects I work on. And in this video, we're going to see Devin in action. We're going to get started with the steps of connecting Devin with GitHub and our repos. Then we're going to use DeepWiki to understand our repo. And then we are going to provide this repo to the agent. And the agent is going to help us understand the code as well as write some detailed code. And in this particular case, over 3,000 lines of code. Now, this was my first time trying Devin, so I wanted to keep it very raw where you can see how I go through all of the steps of setting up and running through some of the errors and also solving them with Devin. So you can sign up for the account on Devin, and there are two different ways. One is using the pay-as-you-go model. This is quite nice. It is good to get started. You can test your application and see how Devin works. And then you can go for the bigger account, which could be for your team or organization. And the starting price is $20 per month, so it's a nice way to test Devin. Now for the sign up steps, you can need a GitHub account and you can sign up using GitHub. And what you'll notice here is we are going through some steps of authorization. This is very typical to many different apps that work using GitHub authentication, where you first accept that you're going to be using GitHub for sign up, and then you are going to go through the approval for different repos. So you have an option to either approve just one repo that you're working on, or you can approve a few different ones or all of the repos in a particular account. So if you have an organization, then you can select the organization that you're part of and then the repos that you want to work with. Now, as soon as you sign up, you're probably going to be asked as which repo you'd like to start working with. I just wanted to skip and see how the dashboard looks like. Now, the interface is very similar to ChatGPT or many different AI tools these days where you can start asking questions. But the difference here is that you have context from your repos. So if you want, you can set up your repos. So there are 220 repos that it pulled from the access that I gave to within my account in the organization. And now I can select any of those. Now, there are three different modes. One is the agent. It can use tools as it mentions, so it can use browser, shell, or different tools. This is the default, and it is cheaper compared to the deep agent, which is better for complex instructions, and it's going to cost more. So you can start with basic tasks, and if you notice that it needs bigger brain capacity, then you can go for the deep agent. Now, if you have something super quick to ask, you can use the ask mode. But then there's also this option here to use DeepWiki. Now, this was released recently, and this can help you understand repos in extensive details. And I connected one of the repos. Look at this. It goes over the different parts of your repo. It generates this overview, nice diagrams as what's happening within this repo. Just a nice simple way to get started. Now, this could be your repo that you're working on. It could be a repo that you want to get inspiration from. It could be something open source that you want to learn from. And what you'll notice is it starts with the user flow, as what's going to happen if someone were to go from landing page to the details, and what happens if they were to keep going within the application. So very nice to understand the flow. And then very similar to that, you'll notice that there are many different architectures mentioned, and this helped quite a lot, to be honest. I was working with a few different repos and I realized that going through different parts of the application really helps. And the coolest feature that I thought is asking questions. So you can ask questions about the repo, something that you didn't understand, something you want to clarify. And a nice way to test it is by going to Deep Wiki. You can find a lot of open source repos available here, and you can browse through some of these available and ask questions. So for example, if I want to ask about VS Code and I'm curious how the extensions work, I can ask Devin, and with this, it's going to go through the details of different parts of the application. It's going to scan them, it's going to find out what the extension framework is like, and then it's going to give you the response. And this is, to begin with, it is quite detailed. It goes through the code base, and as you notice, it's going to highlight all of the different areas that might be beneficial for you, or you can go deeper if needed and get even better responses. So this is quite nice. And as mentioned, this is available for anyone to use for free, and many of the open source repos are already indexed by the team behind Devin. Now going back, so this is a private repo that I pulled in, and this is available for any Devin user. You can add repos and understand them better. Now what I'm excited about is actually working with Devin. So I'm going to go to the Devin session, and here I want to add a repo. As of now, I don't have anything set up, so I'm going to start with a repo. Now, since I have all of my repos pulled in, I can see all of them here, and I'm going to select the one that I'm interested in. Now you'll see that it will walk you through a setup guide, and this is going to provide the right context to Devin. You're going to provide commands like build and lint and anything that you want Devin to know before you start working with Devin. Now notice that this is only first time you start working on a repo within Devin's dashboard. Next time it's going to be available for you. So I'm going to go through all of these steps and see if the default works. If not, then I'm going to look for the right command and then use that. So this worked. So I'm going to go to the next step. Now I am probably not going to configure all the secrets right now. I might just do it later. Now next step is to install dependencies. For this, it asks for us to use the terminal. So let's do that. So I'm just going to do npm install for this repo. And let's make this a bit bigger here so you can see. All right, cool. So that worked. I'm going to go to the next step. For maintaining dependencies, I'm just going to add a command here. Let's see if this works. I'm going to try to verify. If that doesn't work, I'm just going to run npm install. Okay, seems like it did multiple change of directories. So I'm going to change that. I'm just going to call this npm install and then verify again. Okay, perfect. So that works. Now, if you do have different parts of your application that you want to maintain dependencies differently, you'll probably have to add your commands, and you have option to add multiple commands for different parts of your application. So we're going to go to the next one. This is setting up the lint, and this is simple for me. So it's npm run lint. We're going to check if that works. Now what I've noticed is that if there are any errors, it's going to ask for you to inspect this and solve this. We can ask the setup agent here questions if needed. I have this repo open in cursor windsurf as well. I can just ask agent over there to solve, push that, and then pull that within Devin. Well, my feel is that it's going to be a feature that will be added later to Devin, where Devin can solve all of these for you. So I had the repo open in cursor. You could use VS Code, windsurf, any IDs that you work with, and quickly look for all the lint errors, or you can solve it within the VS Code ID available here, whichever you prefer, and solve the lint errors. So that's what I did. I pulled it again. I'm going to go back to the section here and try to resolve it. Now with this verification, it should go through. Great, so that worked. I'm going to go on to the next step. I don't have any tests available as of now, so skip this for now. And next is to test the app. So it's saying to test any of your commands. So let's give it a shot. If I were to run npm run dev and see how that works. I know this opened and worked for me previously, so I can quickly go and check the browser. I'm going to copy the localhost 3000 and run within the browser. And it shows error because of the environment variable. This is something I skipped earlier. I quickly want to add the secrets here and test it actually. And for that, I'm going to add the .env file within our application. Great, so I added the .env file. So I'm going to go again to the local setup and see how that works. Or actually, we have the terminal open here. So I'm going to quickly stop the application, run the command, and see how this works. Great, now I see that the app is working fine. I can browse around the landing page and the other page should also work. That's great news. So now we can get started working with the repo and with the Devin agent. So I'm going to hit finish, and with that, it is running the commands and the setup that we provided, and let's see how that goes. If there are any errors, probably it's going to let us know and we can solve those, but as of now, this looks pretty good. The setup passed, all checks are good. I'm going to complete, and all right, some confetti, and we can get started. So now we're back to the main page, and I want to ask question. And this is by default something that was made available. So I'm going to remove the PR section. I'm going to see if Devin is able to access. Now, this is definitely a new way of working where we ask AI agents to do the work. I can definitely see the value. So if you're some occasional user, you want to see if there are some questions you have about the repo, you could subscribe with the base version of the plan, which is pretty much the same for any of the AI tools, so ChatGPT or Claude or so. And with that, you can have in-depth session or discussion with Devin and then come up with some ideas or perhaps some new features and maybe even add some new things if you like. And of course, if you have a team, you can go for a bigger plan. Now, just looking at the logs here, it seems like it was able to get into the folder, it was able to install, and was able to find out if there are any lint errors or not. And this is something we tested before, so I knew that this was working. Now, if you don't know what Devin is doing, you have a few different tools available here. So progress is something you can track what knowledge was accessed. Then there is the shell where you can see what all commands were run by Devin and the results for that. And also you can see the actual commands that were entered in the history down here. Code is going to be very familiar to any of the VS Code type IDEs. This is where you can go in, make manual changes as you do in any of the IDEs. And then there is the browser where we are going to test how our application is working. So first thing, I'm going to go to the terminal and add the command. Great, so that worked. I'm going to take the URL and then try that in our browser. Great, so all looking fine here. So now I'm going to start giving some tasks to Devin. Now, first test I usually like to do with many of the AI coding assistants is for it to help me explain the repo so that it gets an understanding of how things work, and then it can go ahead and try to explain it back to us. Some of these tools can visually explain you, write it down for you, and it's a good way to know how deep can these tools go. Now the command ran for a few minutes. Devin went on exploration for a minute or two and came back with quite nice details. Initially, it started with just the general overview of the app, then it went into details of exactly how it works. Looking at the explanation and how I built it, it's dead on, and the explanation keeps going. It covers all different aspects of the application, so that's quite nice. Now, first task was easy. Now we're going to go on to one level extra difficulty. So I am going to ask Devin to help write documentations, since that is something many developers don't like to do themselves. So why not ask AI to help us with that? So I wanted to add a doc section, and it's going to have a link available here on our homepage, as well as it's going to have a link in the dashboard. So let's see how well it does. Now, I haven't asked for it to generate a PR, so let's see if it's going to do it, or we might have to ask for it to do it for us. Now, it started to type, so let's see. Okay, it seems like it's off to work, and it's starting to compile this documentation for us. All right, so this is absolutely amazing. So I was looking through what Devin is doing. As soon as we gave the task, it first helped us know what is it planning to do. So it gave a quick overview of what's happening, and then the confidence was medium. And from there, it started working. So about 3 minutes or so, it went through a lot of different directories and files, and then it got a good understanding. And based on that, it built this plan. So now within this plan, you can see that it describes the task, the procedure, and exactly what steps it's going to take and what all documents or pages it's going to add. So this is quite helpful. So right away, we know that this is the right path and this is what we wanted. And at the end, it decided that it's going to commit and create the PR, and that's quite nice. It reduces our task, and then there are some details at the bottom, and also the confidence went high. So that's pretty good. And with that, it started the execution process, and you can see there are a bunch of files created, a lot of code written here. Overall, it wrote over 3,400 lines of code. And the cool thing is, once the code was written, it went ahead and actually interacted in the browser just to make sure all of those pages are available. And then once the browsing was completed, it went ahead and created a PR for us. And then I noticed that it also ran the lint command just to see if there are any errors. And if there were, then it went ahead, also made some more changes. And then once all of that was completed, it said that the task is completed and the docs are added. And now the PR is available for us. So I'm just going to quickly check how the PR looks like. Well, that's pretty good. I can see the summary of what was added and then the next step to review and test as what is for us. So a checklist for humans. That's pretty good. Nice. So there's also some diagram. This is pretty cool. As we wanted it to go from the page, so this is the main landing page. There is a link to the docs. There is one from the dashboard page, so that is pretty good. It seems like it created some of these subfolders as well. And then there's some follow-up, so this is pretty good. And then there was the Netlify deploy as well. Now this is something I had connected with Netlify, so that's available. Let me just actually quickly check how that looks like. So there's the docs right there. Oh, okay, so it's behind auth. So that's something maybe we can ask for it to change, so we don't want it behind the auth. It should be available for any user. So now I'm going to test and see if I were to comment here, is that going to be picked by Devin or not? I haven't tagged Devin, so let's see how that looks like. Might not be picked, to be honest. Let's see. Oh, okay. There is that receive feedback from GitHub comments. Okay, so it figured out that we need to add something to that particular PR, so it got to work. So with that, it seems like it already edited the middleware, and that's where the authentication, especially the protected routes, were mentioned. So it seems like it is now navigating. Can we open this from here? Let's see. Oh, okay, there you go. So it's controlling the browser, and it's going to the sections, just making sure there is no need for authentication. And to be honest, the docs looks amazing, so this is quite nice. Now notice that there is an option to control the browser along with Devin. So right now it's clicking elements, it's navigating. We could just let it do, or we can also control, and maybe if you want to visit different aspects, you can do that. All right, great. So it seems like it went through all of the tests and it did some of the lint test as well. And now it took some screenshots for us to make sure that that is the right change. And with that, it also pushed it back to the PR. So let's check here. Okay, yeah, the code changes are available. So I'm just going to quickly check what happened here. It made the change in our middleware. This was a quick change, but then it did all the tests. Honestly, this is quite amazing. These are the tasks that would have taken a lot of my time or time of one of the members in our team. So these could be just handled by commenting in the PR or just assigning tasks to Devin in this chat interface. Now, one last test I want to do is I want to go back And in here, I want to open the preview page for Netlify, and I hope the changes are propagated. So that's the case. We can see that these are the documentation added. It seems like it chose and picked the different themes and icons that I had in the website. Also added the get started and create presentation, so people can actually go from here directly to the app and all of these different sections. So this also looks quite nice, detailed. It talks about all of the features that I wanted to talk about. So this is something we can pretty much deploy and add to our application. Now I noticed that there are some places where it might need some review, so maybe we can ask Devin to help us solve some of these minor things here. But other than that, I am pretty satisfied with the work. I do have a few different tasks in mind that I want Devin to handle, but this video already is quite long, so probably going to make a second video to showcase some of the more challenging tasks that would take quite some brain power to perform. So stay tuned and let's welcome Devin to our team.